Welcome to Wednesdays with English with a Twist. Hi guys, this is Shanti from English with a Twist, and it is Wednesday afternoon, the 8th of February. So hopefully you've got your watches all in check. It is 3 o'clock GMT, which is 0 hours, 0 plus. So you have to calculate how many hours ahead you are of London or behind. So it's a very grey, misty day in London. I don't know what it's like where you are, but just drop me a line, tell me where you're from. Hi Priya, lovely to see you. I'm hoping I'm going to get the regulars coming in to today's lesson. So do join and tell me what time it is at your place. Are you at the end of your working day? Are you in the middle of your working day? Or have you just started? Okay, to remind everyone, this is English with a Twist, and today is lesson 14 of Wednesdays with English with a Twist. I hope you have a cup of tea or coffee next to you. I have a glass of sparkling water next to me, so in case my throat gets dry too, and then I will, lubricate the throat. So Priya, you're in the Philippines, in Manila. Wonderful. So now just before I forget, just to remind you, with English with a Twist, we're all about business English and how to improve your English for good business communication and easier business communication in your workplace. So that's what we do. And also I wanted to remind you, if you haven't signed up yet to my free e-guide on the 10 steps to become better communicators in English, then make sure you do sign up. It's at the top of the Facebook page where it says click sign up, and so then you will get the weekly lessons that I send to you on a Friday and anything extra in between, and also you will get any other tidbits that I share with you. And I'll be talking a little bit more about also my small talk book. I just wanted to say thank you so much for those of you who bought the book, and it's on sale here on the page and also on my website. So if anyone missed out on the launch, not to worry, it's in my store and you can get it as and when you want. So it's all there. Anyway, let's get started with this class because we have got a very interesting business discussion. I was amazed by the reaction I had on the page when I posted that LinkedIn article yesterday. I think it was sort of distributed by Facebook over 46,000 times, and so lots of engagement, lots of people saying wow, really like it, and then sharing. And in fact, let me just have a look. What are the stats, the statistics on that? It was just incredible. So when did I share this? No, actually I shared this on Monday, didn't I? Time flies when it goes, sort of when you're having fun. 50,000 people it's gone across, and 255 of you clicked like to it, and over 266 people shared it. So, incredible. So it's obviously, as we would say in English, an idiomatic expression is it hit a nerve. Means it's something that many of you feel very passionately about. Hi Mohammed, hi Russell, North Korea, wow, Pakistan, Manila. So Manila, Priya, you said it's 11 o'clock at night. I am very, very grateful for your perseverance and for your loyalty in staying up that late on a Wednesday night to follow English with a Twist on Wednesday. So thank you so much, very honored. Okay, so today's topic is about the whole idea about how we can redress work-life balance. And I want to have a lot of your views and a lot of your thoughts on this. So I'm going to be waiting for comments that are coming through and, sharing with you. Now, as I said, this was an article from LinkedIn. And the person who wrote it is he, I think, runs a recruitment agency. So he's a recruitment consultant. And this is an article he posted last September, and apparently has had a lot of traction. What I mean by traction means it's been incredibly popular. It's gone viral, and everyone's loved it, commented on it. Hi Farah, lovely to see you. Well, not see you, but see your name and your profile. And his name is Andrew McGregor, and he shared this, and when I looked at it, I thought, I'm going to share this, and I was just amazed by, your reactions. So I thought, this just seems to be a perfect topic to cover. So of course, what we're looking at is he's saying that we should always leave the office on time. So first question I'm going to ask you is, do any of you have an office-based job? Click like if you do, click thumbs up if you have an office-based job. So do you have a routine, typically 9 to 5 routine, where you have to go into the office? Could you just tell me? Yes, love, no, yes I do, I'm not too sure. Hi Galia from Bulgaria. So anyone? And I'm going to be looking down here to see what you're all telling me. So I'm not getting any response. I take it some of you are there to tell me. Yes, so that is yes, you do work from an office. So you have to go into the office and attend. So you have regular working hours. Good. Okay. So this guy is, here I am. I can see myself. Sorry, I'm looking on my computer to see what everyone is doing. So I can take a look at what the comments are. Hello, Rosa. Okay, so we're going to look at the 7 reasons why he's saying that we should make an effort to leave the office on time. So can I ask you, show of hands again, tell me yes, how many of you leave the office on time? Tell me. So you finish work, and what are your hours? Do you leave on time? Anyone going to tell me that? You leave on time? So say, for example, your working hours are between 9 and 5, typical working day. Do you leave 5, just after 5:30, 6 o'clock? I mean, that the whole concept of on time is an interesting one, and we'll pick on it later. I think I'd like to explore that a bit more about what we do. What do we mean by on time? Is it 30 minutes after that? Okay, so Rosa says you're a student now, but when you used to work, you would always leave on time. Great. Mohammed, you say you always leave on time. Good. Okay, so both of you, that's great. So you're very, some people say, yeah, that's really good and disciplined. Okay, interesting. Prince, you're saying no, because a lot of the time there are things that are not finished, that are undone. So this is interesting, because this is what Andrew McGregor says. Priya says it's not possible to leave on time. Interesting, because the first point that he makes, and I don't know if any of you read this article, was that you've got to always leave on time, because point 1, number 1 reason is your work is never finished. It's a never-ending process. Yeah, I mean, unless we, if you have and he's right, isn't it? Because you could have various jobs you have to do, and maybe you set those jobs, and you do them, but there's always something, and you can't always say, well, I'm going to do everything today, because if you've got a project, and say the project is going to last 2 or 3 weeks, well, there's always going to be something that you could be doing. Rosa, you says yes, sometimes there's some extra work. Of course, if something comes along at the last minute, but then it depends on how urgent it is. And if you're up against a deadline, then of course, then one has to do it. But again, it's a question of prioritizing, isn't it? Now, we're going to have a lot of nice vocabulary coming out from here. And I'm going to be, when I do the recording, I'll be making a note of this vocabulary, so don't worry. But it's a question of prioritizing, isn't it? And I mean, when he says your work is never ending, it's true. For example, with me, I run my business. This is my business. And there's always lots of ideas I've got and I want to do. And I could keep working and working and working. But then sometimes you just have to think, well, it will never finish. There'll always be something else I could be doing. So you have to then be quite disciplined and say, okay, you know, what have I done? Am I happy with today's work? And then think, okay, you know, I can do it for tomorrow. I don't have to work such long hours. So that's what he means by the work is a never-ending process. We've always got something to do. So what we need to do is look at time management and deciding and prioritizing. How many of you would you say how many of you are good at prioritizing? I'd love to know. Or do you think you're good, or maybe you could improve, you know, how to prioritize, how to manage your time? I have to say I struggle a lot with prioritizing. You know, there are lots of ideas that come into my mind, and I'm always thinking of new ideas of what to do with the business, what to do with my lessons, and what to do with new material. And, you know, it all comes in, and I'm like, great. And I really have to focus hard to then think, okay, write it down, Shanti, make a note of it, and then really think of what can you do first, and, you know, then go along, because otherwise it's just too much and it could become overwhelming, right? Rosa, you says, unfortunately, I'm not good at prioritizing your time. I think it's a big problem. All of us do have that. I think, you know, it takes a lot of discipline, and it means that you have to be very conscious of it all the time. You know, today, for example, I was looking at stuff and I had my list, and then, you know, you juggle, like, you know, earlier you said that something else comes along and you have to adapt, and you do that. But then you go back to something else, and, you know, it's always a juggling act. What we would say is often a juggling act. I'm just writing down some notes as I'm speaking, because it's words that I want to share with you. Farah, you're saying it is hard to prioritize, but I'm doing my best to do so. Yes, that's great. That's all we can do, right? Keep doing it. Keep trying it. Okay, so now so here we are. Work is never going to finish. It's a never-ending process. So we need to really, it's important to manage our times and to prioritize. Okay, so first reason why we should still leave the office on time. The other point he makes, Andrew McGregor makes in his article, is that the interest of a client is not as important as our family. I mean, you know, the interest of a client is important, yes, but so is our family. Yeah, and, you know, okay, a client says, yes, they pay our fees, they pay our bills, but, you know, oh, sorry, I'm just stopping because Rahul has just said when I have to prioritize between different things, I end up ruining all of them. Oh, no, come on, Rahul. I think you're being hard on yourself. You know, I think no, I'm sure you don't do that. But it is hard. Yes, sometimes, you know, maybe we do too many things, or we try and do too many things, and then it just gets too messy. So, but the fact that you are aware of it is a great thing, because that means that you can consciously try and adapt and make some changes to the way you do things. Diary, yes, this is English. This is an English language Facebook page, and I'm working on business English. Right, okay, so let's look at, again, so the interest of a client is important, but so is your family. And what he is saying is that, you know, some people say, well, you know, look, I go home and I get home and maybe it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I've got a couple of hours with my family. That's enough. And you think, really, I mean, is that right? Should that be the case? Shouldn't your family be the more important person who has more than just 2 hours in the evening? If you have a family and you have children, you come home, you hardly see your children, and then it's time for them to go to bed. Certainly in the UK, children tend to go to bed early. I know in different cultures, children go to bed later. I know in Italy, for example, they go to bed later. But in the UK, many children will go to bed around about 8:39, and of course, if they're younger, much earlier. So a lot of fathers, for example, will come home and hardly see their children. By the time they get home, it's 7:30, 8 o'clock, maybe just a quick, bath time and maybe reading them a story, and that's it. And so really, they only have the weekends. And there are a lot of men now, certainly in the UK, and I'm sure in other countries, who are beginning to think, you know what, no, we want a bit more. We want to spend more time with our families. We want to see our children growing up. I do realize that in different cultures, there is a different perspective and a different attitude to that. But even for me, for example, I don't have children. There's my husband and me. So, you still think you want some quality time of an evening to just chill out, to relax, to do something. And although you have clients, and it depends again on the work you do, maybe you work shift work, or maybe you have to balance that and think, okay, is it so important, this client, they need everything? And the problem is, of course, we have emails now, and we have our devices, so we take home our work because we check our emails, and employers will think that they can contact us anytime. So you're always available at a push of a button, which makes it really hard for a lot of people, and because it's very difficult to switch off. How many of you would you say find it difficult to switch off when you get home? You can't hear me very well. Sorry, I'm as loud as I can. I'm going to try and talk a bit louder. Maybe you need to turn up your volume, because I can't get any louder than that. See if I'll raise my voice a bit. Can everyone else hear me all right? Next time I think I'll put a microphone. But yeah, so as I say, so it depends on, how many of you have to be available for your employers, for your job, outside working times. So we have to balance again. Mohammed, is that a yes, you can hear me? Well, so hopefully that is the same for all of you. That's good. Okay, number 3. Now, he's saying here, Andrew McGregor says that if you fall in life, neither your client or your boss is going to help you. Your family are. So what is he saying here? That if you have a problem, if something happens to you in your life, you have a moment of misfortune, then your clients and your bosses and your company, they're not going to be there for you. The people who are going to be there for you are going to be your family and are going to be your friends. So spending all that time with your company and giving all that time to your company is not going to, they're not going to be there when it really matters. We have an expression in English, when push comes to shove. So when push comes to shove, it's 2 meanings. When the situation becomes hard and you have got no other way, then there is a moment when it's important what decisions people take. And when push comes to shove, often the companies will not support you. But who will be there for you will be your family. It could be an illness. It could be a difficult moment in your life. So it's important to, I think, again, put things into perspective. I don't know whether you agree with him, with Andrew McGregor on this, because, yeah, your family will always be there no matter what, no questions asked. I know it all depends on the family, but more often than not, they will be there. So again, remembering who are the important people in your lives. Now, the number 4 reason he says here is life is not only about work, about your office, and about your client. And I know it is a cliche because people always say this, right? They're always saying to us, there's more to life than work. And nobody ever went to their dying bed to say, I wish I had worked more. They would probably say, I wished I had, followed my dreams. I had done more in my life to do things. And yeah, that's great. That's, those are the lovely dreams. And, you read this stuff and you think, yeah, okay, yes, but my reality is this. And so I want to know, from yourselves, we can spend our time looking at the reality and think, okay, and I love this idea of, spending more time with my family, and some people say, well, it's really difficult. And then you really have to sit down and think, well, where can I make some changes in my life? What can I give, not just to my family, but to yourself? You owe it to yourself to decide what is important and what isn't. I want to share a story with you. Some of you may already know my story if you followed my blog and if you followed me on my website. But, for many, many years, I was in business. I was in investment management. I was in the finance world. So for over 20 years, I was in that career. I was doing a great job. I enjoyed it up to a point. Towards the end, it got harder as we were getting into the credit crunch. Life was tough. I was made redundant 3 times. So, lost my job. You have to pick up the pieces again and carry on. And towards the end, I wasn't really enjoying it. But I was brought up to think that, a life in the corporate world is important. I was brought up, typically professional Asian family where you get a good degree, you move on, and and you stay in that field. And it was good. You earn well, you have a nice living. But I found myself becoming more and more bored and not feeling challenged enough. And I wasn't trying too hard. And but I was never going to change anything because I was too afraid to change. And life is easy. Life, it's so hard to change. Now, so I was never courageous enough to make any changes. But in the end, life made it for me. And what happened was I got ill. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, life all of a sudden changes. And it is a cliche, but it does. It puts everything into perspective. And what I found was I was ill. I got diagnosed. I have to say my company was very, very supportive. So, when he says that life is down, but, they were there. They helped me a lot. I was able to work from home while I was undergoing chemotherapy, and that was great. And so during my illness, I have to say my company was fantastic. What happened though was when I went back, you've gone through very, very intense treatment. You've gone through what is a life-changing situation. And you then decide to yourself, I went back and we were in the middle of the credit crunch. We had the crisis. This was 2008. And I went back and the morale in the office was low. We knew we were going to be losing our jobs again. And I thought to myself, you know what, I've had 20 years in this field. I am sick to the teeth to giving myself to this company. They tell you great, wonderful things, but then when things go wrong, you're the first person to lose your job. Right? And then there is absolutely no loyalty to the people they were, the employees or anything. And I just thought, you know what, I'm done. There has to be more to life. There has got to be something more. So I changed my career. I fell into teaching. I didn't have this lifelong ambition to become a teacher, and not an English language teacher, but it just happened. And I have to say that was the best decision that I made in my life. It has changed my focus so completely. Don't get me wrong, it's damn tough. There are moments when, I'm going mad, and and it's really tough, and you just think, wow, I'm working so hard, or I still have the issues of the work-life balance because I'm doing more in terms of my own business, because what I decided was I wanted to work for myself. I didn't want to work for another company. I didn't want to be at the mercy of another company to tell me, you're losing your job again. So, but your circumstances, your situation changes, and your priorities change. And that's what made me realize that when people say life is not only about work, it is true, but I think a lot of it is also the work that you set yourself. Who's determining the work you do? Is it you? Is it your company? Because if it's something that you are setting yourself, those goals, those objectives, then you are the one in control. You're the one saying, okay, I can work that little bit now because I know it's me that's setting that objective. But it's not someone who's forcing you constantly and you have no choice. Please do not get me wrong. I know some of you are in jobs where you can't choose, if they give you a long shift work or you have long hours to do, you have to do it. But so I think it's a question of adjusting and thinking, okay, at the end of the day, my health is important, because it is. Take it from me, I always thought I was in control of everything. And then when you get ill, and I'm not suggesting anyone gets ill like I did, but you suddenly realize everything goes out of the window. You are no longer in control of your body. Your body is doing whatever it wants to do. And then you're thinking, now, how do I control other aspects of my life? And this is what it's all about, isn't it? It's about how do we take control where we can. And so this whole idea of this work-life balance, I think, we have to work within our own reality and decide what works for us. And then little by little, adjust. That goes, for example, with your English. Yeah, people who want us to improve, they want to get onto that ladder, they want to become better, more confident. It's those little steps, and only you can decide, how am I going to take those little steps? How can I continue going down that path? And it's everything in life. That's what we've got to do. And we make those decisions. Nobody can make them for us. You can have a helping hand. You can have someone who guides you. But ultimately, it's you as your own person to decide what small changes can I make in my life. Now, I had to make a big change because it was out of my control. But afterwards, lots of changes. And don't get me wrong, there are moments when I still go mad. But it's on my terms. I've decided I want to work 12 hours today and I'm going to work 2 hours tomorrow. But I'm sort of juggling that myself. I hope that kind of makes sense, what I'm trying to share with you, really. So, whenever I read these things about life is not only about work, it's true. But we all can judge how we adapt to that. So we're reason number 5 that Andrew McGregor gives us, which is, and this was the controversial point he made here, and I think a lot of people commented, was he was saying that a person who stays late in an office is not a hard-working person. What do you think, guys? Share with me, please, because I've done a lot of talking here, and that's not fair. Yes, Rosa, you have to trust and believe in yourself. That is hard. That takes a lot of practice, though. And not always. We don't always do that. But yeah, so someone who works late, who stays in the office late, then they're considered not a hard-working person. Yeah, that's a bit unfair, isn't it? I had a client recently. She's incredibly hardworking. She has got a senior role. And she works very long hours, and only last week she was chatting to her boss, and her boss was saying, you're working too long, which means that you are not hardworking enough. You're not managing your time efficiently, because there really shouldn't be a reason why you're staying in the office until 7:30, 8:30 every night. There is absolutely no reason why you should be doing that. That's quite hard, and I don't know whether you agree with that or not. And I don't know whether a number of you do often stay back in the office longer than you need to. Now, in her situation, for example, she was sharing this with me in our class, and she was getting quite upset, but because she said that there have been so many changes in her work that she's ended up doing 3 people's jobs. And I'm sure half of you have come across this, where you end up doing 3 people's jobs, and then there is no option. You have to do it because this work still has to be done. So for your boss to suddenly say to you, well, you're not working hard enough, or you're not managing your time well enough, it's a bit harsh, I think. On the other hand, there are people who are not good managers of their time. Maybe they procrastinate, maybe they take long lunch breaks, or maybe they're just not functioning, they are not giving themselves time deadlines on how quickly they need to do things. What did you say there, Rosa? You said, yes, I've seen that before, because people can't concentrate after spending too much time in their office. Exactly. I don't know about you, but there are always some points in the day when we are at our most efficient. And that's when we should be doing our most productive work, is during that time. And then maybe other stuff, doing it at another time, when you don't need to be concentrating too hard. I've got that. Sometimes I've got this long list I want to do, and I'll have this really productive hour and 2 hours, and it's fantastic. And then the next maybe 3 hours, I'm doodling. I don't know what I'm doing, and I get distracted. And if you're in an open office, unbelievable. It is so hard to stay focused, because you're listening to what other people are saying, you're listening to other people's phone conversations. Then you have this, office chit chat, right? The small talk we talk about. Hey, how are you? Did you have a good weekend? Yeah. Oh, my back is hurting. I went running the other day. Really? Oh, yeah. Hey, listen, do you want to fancy a coffee? Shall we just go and get a coffee? Or, all this sort of chit chat. And then that sort of distracts you. And then you think, oh, or you've got to take a lot of phone calls, and that distracts you. So it's that discipline of finding, okay, what are my moments when I have to be really productive? I've got to concentrate, and I've got to produce material, content, whatever it is. Let's choose the times when I'm most productive. Maybe it's first thing in the morning, maybe it's early evening. Choose those moments, but then maybe work and do other sort of jobs in the other times. And it takes a lot of work, and it's always, your workload. And yes, and it is about how organized you are, and it's all about organization. And with the best will in the world, sometimes it's really hard to get organized. And then, of course, let's face it, sometimes you've got days when you're super efficient. You got them all done. You got everything on your to-do list done. Tick, 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 tick. And then other days you think, God, it's come to 3 o'clock and you don't quite know what you've done all day, because your concentration is not there, and it's just, you're not focused. So, we're only human at the end of the day. But again, it's constantly thinking. So this controversial point he says about someone who works every day late, maybe they're not the most hardworking. I know I've been in my industry, which was in the past, where you were in finance, and it would be seen as bad if you were the first person to leave the office at, may say, about 5:36. Everyone would be looking at you thinking, oh, half day. You'd get those little comments like, oh, half day. Everyone's looking at their watch. And you're thinking, but this is so bad. Just because I'm sitting in the office, sitting at my desk, does not mean that I'm being productive. In fact, I could have been productive in 2 hours and done more work in 2 hours than I've done in 6 hours. And yet, there's this corporate culture that we have to be at our desks. What's that all about? It used to drive me mad. So then you'd have these people staying in the office until, and it became like a little competition, who can stay longest. And, it just drives you insane. You think, but this is ridiculous. Now, it was interesting in this this article about how some women were saying that, a lot of women end up being more organized. There was an article I shared on the Facebook page about small talk. Yeah, about how women are not so good at small talk, and actually we should do, because it would affect our career. And the point some ladies raised was that we often have children to go and collect from school. We have certain things. Maybe you're working only a few hours a day. You have to be productive in those hours. You don't have time to waste. And so you therefore need to concentrate your time. Diary, you just said here also how organized your management is. If it makes sudden changes, then you're going to be overloaded. Sure, absolutely. It's also down to office and how it's managed, your bosses, and also it's the type of job you do. In the past, I was married before, and my ex-husband was a lawyer, corporate lawyer, in mergers and acquisitions. And in corporate finance and mergers and acquisitions, often there'll be last-minute decisions that have to be made. And if you're in a team like that, then you just have to drop everything and just go and do it. So, certain jobs have that sort of focus that you've just got to drop everything. And, there's nothing you can do about it. But, the burnout rate for those jobs is really high. You can do it for so long, and then after a while you think, this is not worth it. So again, it can suit some people, it doesn't suit others. And I think management, yes, they have to consider, is it really a good idea to insist on your employees working such long hours? You take the Scandinavian models, so you look at Sweden, Denmark, Norway, they have shorter time days, but they are much more productive. So Monica, you're saying my workmate stays late every day and managers think he is so hardworking, but in fact he spends 50% of his time surfing the internet and chatting with his friends. Let me just see what you've just written here. Really? So he stays late and gets paid for overtime. Now, I'm not going to make any comment about your workmate, but true. Yeah, and that's it. And this is my point. Just because you're sitting at your desk does not mean you're being productive. In fact, it's complete opposite. Yeah. And, I sometimes used to do it myself. You get a bit bored, you go, let me just check. The challenge is, yes, Farah, if your environment is not helping you. But, I think also if your corporate culture is such that if you leave the office dot on 5 o'clock or dot on 5:30 or whenever you're contractually meant to be in the office for, then it's always frowned upon. People look at you and they think, leaving early, really? Oh, obviously not working. And it's nonsense. It used to drive me insane. And ever since I started working from home, then you realize how much more productive you are. My husband was the same. He used to work in an office, and then he started working from home when things changed, and also we got a dog, and it was easier because I was still office based. And he said to me very quickly, and he was concerned because he didn't think he had the discipline to work from home. He thought he'd end up, watching television and, not working. He does more work now at home where he has no distractions than he ever did in the office, because he was constantly taking coffee breaks or popping out and, and it's just, and that's so true. So it's that productivity that you think is so crucial, because it means that we don't have to work those long hours. We can work much more efficiently. But that takes a lot of work to get to that point. And sometimes I'm very envious of some people who manage to do it day in, day out. So, great for them. Okay, so that was a very controversial point, about this. People who are working late, they're, by nature, they are automatically not hardworking. I don't always agree with that. But, so I'd be interested in what you think on that. Now, reason 6, Andrew McGregor says, is that you did not study, you did not go to university, you did not go to college, you didn't do an apprenticeship, you didn't train to, to work like a machine. And, machines, you can switch on a machine and it will maybe go on for 24 hours. We're not machines. We need downtime, as we say, time to relax, to calm ourselves down, to spend time on other things, and to just switch off our minds, which, to be honest, is really hard. In this day and age, with our smartphones next to us, our iPads, the internet available all the time, it's always very hard already to switch off from our daily lives. To then switch off from our work is even more difficult because you're constantly seeing notifications, you're so constantly seeing things. Things are always pinging, and so that's really hard to stay focused, to stay concentrated, and at the same time to switch off. I mean, what do you do? Can you tell me, to share with me, what do you do to switch off? If you've had a hard day at work. Yeah, great, Michael, wonderful. We would love to have that, yeah? But unfortunately, not all machines can do it, right? We still need humans because we need that cognitive thinking. We need we are the ones that we create. That's the point, isn't it? But they still want us to work like machines. But tell me, what do you do to relax, to switch off? What works for you? I'm still trying to find out what works for me. Because I have to say that, your brain is always whizzing, you're always thinking of things, and, always thinking, oh yeah, that's a great idea, I'll try this or try that. And, there's now this whole new, trend to look at mindfulness, how we think and how we, meditation. I sleep. Yeah, Michael, great. Absolutely. I sleep. Yeah. Guys, so, and how easy is it for you to sleep? Because here's the thing. I often, when my brain is ticking too much, I go to sleep. I think, okay, I just can't handle it. But the problem is that I often wake up in the middle of the night and then my brain is just buzzing and buzzing. And you think, oh my goodness, I'm never going to, for example, last night was a nightmare. So I woke up at about 3 o'clock, told myself, no, Shanti, go back to sleep. Okay. Then again at 5. And normally what I would do is read my Kindle. I won't look at my iPad, I won't look at my phone because, yeah, but watching television, that's the problem. Because if you're like on an iPad or on a device, the light, and they say it gets your brain ticking again. So I find that reading helps me because at some stage then I start falling asleep again. But it really is disruptive. Yeah, I can't sleep. You're right, Ira. I just cannot sleep. And I don't know whether it's just as I'm getting older. You go shopping. Yeah, but not at 5 o'clock in the morning, Priya. I mean, there are not that many shops open. Certainly not in London. But, so that's really, and people like, switch off, calm, meditate. I haven't got there yet. I'm really still trying to find ways of doing that. Just to switch off because we need it. We need our downtime. We need to sleep. Some people can sleep fewer hours than others. I need 8 hours at least. I have a fellow colleague, a fellow teacher. She can live on 4 hours. I wish. How many hours do you need to sleep? Because yeah, that's me, 8 hours. If I could sleep less, better, but I don't. And the thing is, we need go shopping online. I love that diary. No, that'd be too dangerous. And I think my husband would then, shut everything down for me because I would become a dangerous woman. Yes, we keep thinking, we keep buzzing, and it just gets too much sometimes. So I think sometimes it's good to just switch off. So sometimes what I do is I switch off my phone, switch off Facebook, switch off the whole lot, and I think I'm out of here. I'm not going to look at social media. I'm not going to look at anything, and I'm just going to try not to think about anything. And so try doing that. But here's the thing. I don't know about you, but certainly since I started running my own business, sometimes I feel guilty that I'm switching off. I mean, how mad is that? You think I'm feeling guilty, and I'm like, Shanti, give yourself a break. I don't know about you. Do you give yourself a break and you think, okay, come on, I deserve a bit of rest and relaxation, and I deserve to just have a moment of getting away? But there you go. But yes, we did not work hard. We didn't struggle in life to then just become this machine that's just working, 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 and for nothing. Well, Muhammad, you say great people have given to the world are said to have slept little. I don't know whether that's necessarily, I think that's a generalization. I think that maybe they were just better at organizing themselves. Yes, okay, some people could do, get away with less sleep, but I think also they maybe had people around them that helped them. I think you hear about these people and you think, how do they do everything? And actually, then when you look at it, they actually have people who were around them that helped them. So they had a lot of support. Their families supported them. They have good assistants, and so that kind of helps them. Okay, finally, guys, I'm getting carried away here with this discussion. The last one he was saying that is that if your boss forces you to work late, he's not necessarily such, if you are a boss, and I think he's talking about people who are bosses, don't insist on your people working late, because it's not good. It's also a bad reflection on you as a boss. Your people are important, so make them, let them have a life outside work. Work is important. Work gives people dignity, but not at the expense of everything else. I have a very good client who's a fashion designer, an Italian fashion designer, and he has a whole team of people, and he always said to me that he insists that all his employees leave work at 6 o'clock every evening. They start maybe around about 8:30, but then he will his more senior people, he will say, that's it, finish work, 6 o'clock, all of you out. He doesn't want anyone staying late, because he says there is no excuse to stay late, because like he says, if we go back to point one, is that the work is never over. The work can continue. So you've got to stop at one point and go, okay, that's done. Maybe there was a deadline. Okay, maybe you do it, but that's a one-off. It's not a constant. So, that's one of the things. So, and I remember when he said this to me, because he says, I get up early, but then I get to work, 8:30. And he's built a very, very successful business. Incredibly successful. He's got very loyal employees. And what he says to me, but he makes sure that his employees have a good work-life balance. And, if only more bosses could be like that, where they say that is it. If you want to be, as a boss, the one who works long hours, fine. But don't expect your employees or your people working around you to be the same, because you're not going to get the best out of them. And, I've seen that. I used to work for a boss who was a workaholic. The trouble is, he would make you feel guilty if you left work early or on time. But he didn't have a life outside work. I don't want to be that person. I don't want, at the end of the day, to be having a chit chat with people and have no interest outside work. Hi Laura, how are you? Thanks for coming in. You just think, well, what do you have to talk about? Nothing, because you've got no interest, you've got nothing to say about anything and anything outside work. I don't want that. There's more to life. I'm more than my work. So it's got to be, and the same with businesses. I wish some corporate cultures, some companies wouldn't insist on that, because it is. I mean, while work is important for all of us to give us a sense of pride, a sense of dignity, but not at the price of everything else. And if you're enjoying it, and even if you're enjoying it, you've got to think about the people around you. I have this problem sometimes, even with my husband. Sometimes I get carried away, and don't get me wrong, I haven't got the answers to everything here. I was reading all this, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to learn this. And sometimes my husband will say, okay, that's enough now, Shanti. And you think, yeah, I've got to stop. Rosa, that's called Taiji in Chinese, passing the buck to others. Oh, okay. What? Sorry, what was Rosa saying? Interesting. I'd like to see that. But yeah, so we've got to do that, and just keep trying to find that balancing act. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. And I think there was quite a lot of interaction here. I saw you all interacting, and I hope you enjoyed this discussion. And in fact, what I want to do, if you're happy with it, is to look at part 2 of this, because Andrew McGregor then came up with another post where he gives us some tips on what we could do to become better time managers, to prioritize. But let me know if you want to develop more this business discussion, whether you want to to work more on that. And also with the Wednesdays with English with a Twist, I'd love you to give me more ideas of what you'd like discussed. If there are grammar points you want me to cover, we're going to be covering other vocabulary, and just let me know. What I will be doing with this is I'm going to listen to the recording, and I'm then going to make notes of some expressions and phrases that I was saying, and share them with you, because those are phrases that you'll hear in your day-to-day work in English, if as and when you're communicating in English at work. So I hope this was an interesting discussion. And thank you so much for your contribution in this discussion. I really valued it, and I would love to know more about your thoughts and your ideas. I will prepare, as I say, this little worksheet, and I'll put it onto the Facebook page, and also have it on YouTube, and also in my blog. I'll be sharing that so that you can see it. But as I say, don't forget to sign up to my guide, my free e-guide. And also, if any of you are still interested in my small talk book, it's available on my store in the on the website, and also here on Facebook. Then poddle along and grab yourself a copy. And also there's a workbook to that small talk. And but otherwise, thank you so much for joining this lesson, and I hope to see you all again this time next week for lesson 15 of Wednesdays with English with a Twist. In the meantime, this is Shanti Kumaraswamy Street saying ciao for now from London. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed it, and it's made me think a lot, and I think we're going to be prioritizing. If you have any great ideas on how we can work and prioritize our work better, and time management skills, let me know. Share it here in the comments box, and we can share it with each other. Michael, you're saying London ? Yes, I'm based in London. So this is English with a Twist, calling from London. See you guys next week. Have a lovely week, and until then, ciao for now. Take care. Bye.